their ministry. And Lord, you know that includes the ministry of all the graduates, their school. Just thank you for the wonderful work that's being done. Just continue to have your way, glorify yourself. Just continue to bring many, many, many souls into the kingdom. Just bless this time. Help us to be a blessing to you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
No further ado, brother, you're on.
All right. Thank you all for coming out this evening. In 1999, my wife and I were pastoring a small Hispanic church in Charlottesville, Virginia. We were meeting in a hotel that we rented, the banquet hall and what have you. And on a really good Sunday, we would be lucky if there were 60 people there. I was working on a master's degree, finishing up a master's degree, and I got invited to go on a short-term missions trip to Peru and to help teach a training seminar for pastors. And when I got there almost immediately, I just felt the Lord dealing with me that it was time for us to resign the church and go back to the mission field. So when I got back home, we'd been praying about it. I told my wife about it. Our daughters were actually very excited about it. So we spent the summer of that year selling our home, selling our 2 vehicles, selling all of our furniture, selling or giving away whatever didn't fit in 2 suitcases and a carry-on. And in September of 1999, we moved to South America. And so this year, actually next month, we'll be celebrating our 25th anniversary in South America. And let me tell you, it's been quite a ride. So I want to just share with you some of the highlights of things that have gone on over the last 25 years. We spent the first 9 years in Peru, and our daughters did high school there. And when we got there, we found out that we were appointed directors of a Bible college that had been closed down for 7 years. The facilities that you see up here in the top corner, they were built like back in Hitler's time, and they were just falling apart. There weren't even a toilet in the bathroom. The bathroom had a concrete step here, a concrete step here, a hole in the ground behind you about the size of a grapefruit, and you would step on those 2 steps, squat down, and pray for good aim. We got it remodeled and up and running, and then about 4 years later, the Lord blessed us with the funds to get property and build this monster 5-story building that is today one of the nicest Bible college facilities in all of Latin America. My wife, we have a 3-year program. It's a residential program, so the students live there, eat there, study there. And Phyllis and I just enjoy so much teaching. We're not the only teachers. We've got a great group of pastors that help us teach the classes, but we're teaching Bible, we're teaching Christian doctrine, and then we're teaching practical ministry, like how to teach, how to preach, how to correctly interpret the Bible, how to administrate a church, how to do pastoral counseling and all. So we're trying to get the tools in our students' hands to help them be effective in ministry. And my wife and I stay connected with our students throughout after they graduate. We've married over 100 of our graduates, and we dedicate their babies. We try to visit them on a regular basis to encourage them, to continue to mentor them, to get gifts for their children. We have a heart for PKs because our daughters were PKs. And so we get gifts for the children, and we try to bribe them so that when they get older, they will come to our Bible college. And this is Marcelli Espinosa, and this is Maria Gracia Churata. Both of their fathers studied at our Bible college, and that shows how long that we've been there. Now we've got children of our graduates studying in our program, and they're great students. So during our first 9 years in Peru, we had 150 graduates from our program, and most of them are still serving in ministry today. Our daughters, they also planted 30 churches. So our graduates planted 30 Christian churches throughout Peru. And our daughters finished up high school and graduated from college just as we were asked to consider going to Colombia. Our church in Colombia heard about our Bible college in Peru, and they started bugging our missions department. Can you send us a couple of missionaries to help us get a Bible college in Colombia to train pastors and church planters? And so our missions department asked Phyllis and I if we would pray about going to Colombia. And to make a long story short, in 2007, we moved to Colombia and we started the Bible college there from scratch. We didn't reopen a Bible college. We had to just get one started. They had never had one. And we rented a facility. So this was our first group of students in the first rented facility. After 1 year, we outgrew it. So this was our second facility that we rented. After a year, we outgrew it. So this is our third group of students. You can see it's getting larger with the third place that we rented. And it was at that time that we realized, man, we need to buy a place so that we can have our own place and have room to expand and all. So with the help of our sponsoring churches, we were able to purchase an old chicken farm with just a beautiful view, and we converted these two buildings here were old chicken coops, humongous chicken coops, and my wife had the vision of converting those, remodeling them into multi-purpose buildings for our Bible college. And today we have just a top-notch campus with a breathtaking view. And during our 11 years in Colombia, we had a total of 80 graduates, and most of them are still serving in ministry today. And these graduates went out and planted 30 more churches. So now we were up to 60 churches in South America. And while we were in Colombia, both of our daughters got married, and both of them gave us 2 handsome grandsons. So we have a total of 4 grandsons. I like to tell people I prayed and prayed and prayed for a son, and the Lord answered my prayer 25 years later with 4 handsome grandsons. And both of our daughters told us they were done. They weren't having any more children. But our oldest daughter, Maritza, is expecting and going to give birth the end of this month to our very first granddaughter. Praise the Lord. So I thought I was going to have to wait till my great-grandkids to have a granddaughter. And then 6 years ago, the World Missions Department asked us if we would be willing to go back to Peru and serve as regional directors of the 2 schools. And at first we weren't real gung-ho about the idea, but as it turns out, it's a great idea and we love it. So we've been back in Peru now for 6 years, and we're traveling back and forth to Colombia, and we're still able to raise funds and channel funds to both programs and both the church plants that are going on both in Peru and Colombia. So in the last 25 years, we've had over 300 graduates from the 2 programs, and these graduates have gone out and planted lots of churches. I want to tell you about 4 of them. This is Alida Zambrano, and she is a Misak Indian from the Misak community. And let me just tell you that a Misak can reach another Misak better, faster, cheaper than you or I can. So if you want to reach the Misak, or if you want to reach the Shipibos, or if you want to reach the Ashenicas, train them and commission them and send them out, and that's what we're doing. And Alida went out and planted a church in a Misak community. She's already got property, she's already got a building, and she's the one on the, hold on a second here, she's the one on your left, doing the baptismal service, and we're so proud of the work that she was doing. And incidentally, that's our 117th church plant by our graduates, okay? This is Abraham. He's the guy in the white shirt with the tie in the middle picture here. He's one of our students, and with a team of our students, he planted a church in Waura. He's a pastor's son, and his father died a year ago, January, And he wanted to follow in his father's steps, so he came to our Bible college. And then on weekends, he would go to his hometown, Wawura, and work on planting a church with a group of our students. And they've already got a good core group of people. And you can see they've got, a nice facility that they're renting. And he hasn't even graduated yet. He's one of our students. And he planted our 118th church. And then this church is special to me. It was planted by, on the right-hand picture, the tall guy in the background, in the back, and his lovely wife next to him, Davis and Diana. And they planted our 119th church in the city of Armenia, which is a city of over 1 million. And the cool thing about this church is it's a daughter church of one of our church plants, okay? Brian and Jessica that are on the first picture here to the far right, they actually got saved in the church that my wife planted, and they became her associate pastors, and they came to the Bible college and studied and graduated, and they served as her associates for a number of years. And when we left Peru, they went to Armenia to plant this church, and they were about our 55th church plant. And now, 6 years later, their church is planting a daughter church. How cool is that? And it's our 119th church plant. And then this one here is Pamela, and she's in the jungle region of Pucallpa, kind of like on the headwaters where the Amazon River gets started. And she's the one right smack in the, let me think, where's she at here? Right smack in the middle with the kind of like greenish dress on next to the lady with the pink blouse. And we're proud to tell you this is our 120th church plant. And I just want to do a little bit of math with you. Even though this is a mission service, let's do a little bit of math. It took us 20 years for our graduates to plant 60 churches. Our first 60 churches, 20 years. Now in the last 5 years, our graduates have planted 60 more churches. So we've learned how to do it faster, we've learned how to do it better, we've learned how to do it cheaper, and it's just growing, and the churches are planting daughter churches, so it's growing exponentially. But how cool is that? That it took us 20 years to reach our first 60 churches, but it only took 5 years to do the next 60. So now there's 120 churches, and it almost seems like every week we have to change it because we've got another one going up. And all of these churches are supported by the Bible College until they become self-supporting, okay? So we're so thankful for our partnership with you guys, and I want to encourage you to sponsor a student. I actually have one of our students here, and I'm excited about that. Mickey is one of our graduates, and he's going to come and tell you a little bit about his ministry. But I want you to understand, when you sponsor a student, this is what you're doing. You're training somebody to go out and pastor a church, plant a church, serve as a missionary, and whatever they do in ministry for the rest of their lives, you'll be rewarded for it because you sponsored them while they were preparing, okay? Now, real quick, let me just remind you what this is about. It cost us approximately $3,300 for each student that studies in our program. That's to feed them, house them, and teach them. $3,300. Believe it or not, we only charge our students $300. That's a year, $3,300 a year. We charge our students $300 a year, which means that they have to pay, that we have to come up with $3,000 to supplement what they don't pay. And my wife came up with this brilliant idea. Why don't we try to get 10 sponsors for each student? 10 people that would commit to giving $300 during the course of the year, and of course 300 times 10, and that's the last math we're going to do here tonight. That's the $3,000. So if you're interested in sponsoring a student, I'd encourage you to come up here. We'll get you signed up. We have a certificate for you. Take the sponsorship certificate with you. I'd encourage you to hold on to it so you can remember who you're sponsoring. Pray for them. I would like you to know that your money doesn't go to the student. What you give goes into the general pot for operational expenses for the Bible school. But we don't take a salary from that. That goes to feed the students, to teach them, to pay the teachers, and also we try to get enough sponsorship so that we've got money to sponsor the church plants. And believe it or not, that's several $1,000s a month that we're sending to Peru and Colombia for sponsoring these church plants, okay? So if you're interested in sponsoring a student, remember, I don't need your money tonight. All I need tonight is your commitment, that you'll commit to giving $300 between now and next August when we come back, okay? You don't have to send it to Peru or Colombia. Just give it through your church and mark it South American student, and your church knows exactly how to get that to us, okay? And if you have any questions about that, I'll be more than happy to try and answer those questions, okay? So we appreciate our partnership with you guys. You've been with us, I think, pretty much since your church got started. You've been partnering with us, and we appreciate this partnership, and we're enjoying it, and we by all means want it to continue. Now, what I'd like to happen now is Mickey's going to come and share with you about the ministry that he's doing in the Amazon jungle region. And then when he finishes, we're going to have a short missions message since it's missions night. So you might want to squirm around a little bit and get in your long-winded position. Because okay, good. Okay, so Mickey.
Buenas tardes a todos. Dios les bendiga.
Good afternoon, everyone. God bless you.
Bueno, mi nombre es Mickey. Reciban un saludo de mi esposa Lauren.
My name is Mickey, and my lovely wife Lauren sends you greetings.
Ella es de Georgia.
She's from Georgia.
Ella está muy bendecida de casarse conmigo.
And she's very blessed to have the opportunity to marry me.
No, yo estoy muy bendecido de casarme con ella.
And I've been very blessed to be able to be married to her.
Nos conocimos hace 6 años en plena selva del Perú haciendo misiones.
We met 6 years ago in the heart of the jungle region of Peru when she was on a short-term mission trip.
Recuerdo cuando ella bajó del bus, yo la vi y era un amor a primera vista.
I'll never forget when I saw her stepping off of the bus. It was just love at first sight.
Un poco después nos casamos y decidimos ir al seminario para poder estudiar.
A short time later, we got married and we called into ministry, so we went to Bible college to study.
Sabíamos que teníamos que hacer misiones.
We knew that the Lord was calling us to do missions.
Después que nos graduamos o me gradué, nos mudamos a la selva del Perú.
After graduating, we moved, that would have been 2 years ago, we moved to the jungle of Peru.
Actualmente vivimos en Contamana
Actually, right now we're living in a place called Contamana.
Y hacemos misiones en el río Pisqui.
And we do missions work on the Pisqui River, which is a tributary to the Amazon.
El río Pisqui tiene aproximadamente 20 pueblos que no tenían iglesias.
The Pisqui River has 20 different indigenous villages, and none of them had a church.
Y no les voy a mentir y decir, hermanos, nunca han escuchado el evangelio.
And I'm not going to lie to you and say, now these people in these villages, they never heard the gospel. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that.
Muchos grupos misioneros norteamericanos y europeos han entrado a ese lugar.
Lots of missions teams from North America and Europe went into these villages and preached the gospel.
Han entrado, predicado, la gente se ha convertido.
They entered into the village, they preached the gospel, people got saved.
Pero después de unos días, los predicadores regresan a su país y los hermanos no saben qué hacer.
And a couple days later, the missions team would go back to their country, and these people were left without a Bible, without a church. They didn't know what to do.
Y cada uno vuelve a sus viejas vidas.
So they went back to their old lifestyle.
Vimos eso con mi esposa y el Señor puso una carga y un deseo por discipular y plantar iglesias en esos lugares.
And my wife and I participated on these missions teams, so we knew what was happening, and the Lord put into our heart we need to plant churches in these areas so we can disciple these converts.
Después de 2 años que hemos empezado el ministerio, hemos podido levantar por la gracia de Dios 4 iglesias.
And during the last 2 years, we've been able to plant 4 churches in this area.
En diferentes comunidades.
In these different communities.
Aquí en la foto vemos uno, es la única comunidad que hemos podido construir un templo.
So far, this is the only village where we were able to actually build a church.
Y el otro lado ves la los hermanos de la iglesia que congregan.
And you can see the inside of it and the people gathering there. This place is called Santa Rosa. Y tienen deseo.
Cada pueblo.
And obviously they've got a desire to get a church like this built in every one of these villages. But that's a pretty good start, is it not? In 2 years?
En esta foto vemos a mi bella esposa discipulando a los hermanos del río Pisqui.
And here you can see my beautiful wife discipling the new converts in this village on the Pisqui River.
Y es un discipulado personal.
It's a personal discipleship.
En esta otra foto me ves a mí enseñando en otra iglesia en el río Pisqui.
And this is me teaching discipleship in another village where we don't have a church.
Es el templo debajo de un árbol, en la playa, en el río, o donde los hermanos se sientan
I'm
cómodos.
sorry, I said they don't have a church. They don't have a church building. And so they meet under trees, they meet on the bank of the river, they meet anywhere where it's cool enough to have a service.
Esa foto es, estoy enseñando al costado del río.
And here I am just teaching right next to the river, on the bank of the river.
Uno de los problemas más grandes de la selva del Perú es que las personas nunca se casan.
And one of the problems in the jungle region of Peru is that couples never get married.
Así que cuando nosotros les predicamos y ellos aceptan a Jesús, lo que tenemos que hacer es discipularlos, casarlos y bautizarlos.
So what we have to do there is we have to add to the Great Commission. We don't just preach to them and disciple them and baptize them. We have to marry them too.
Cada uno de ellos ahora son líderes en la iglesia.
And we actually have mass weddings where we have 2 or 3 couples get married at the same time, and then they become leaders in the church.
Hemos tenido el honor de hacer bodas masivas para ellos.
And we've had the honor of doing these massive weddings. Or mass weddings, I don't know what would
Ahí
be
se
the right
están
word.
casando dos parejas.
We're marrying a couple of people, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Okay?
Una de mis cosas favoritas que hago cuando estoy en el río Pisqui o cuando hacemos misiones en el río Pisqui
And one of the things that I most enjoy about our ministry in the Pisqui River is
cuando tenemos que bautizar a los hermanos.
when I have the opportunity to baptize the new converts.
Hemos podido bautizar aproximadamente a 30 personas ya,
We've already baptized 30 people,
y tenemos el objetivo y queremos bautizar a miles más en el río Pisqui.
but we've got the goal of baptizing thousands more.
Permíteme contarles, por favor, una de mis historias favoritas.
So please let me tell you one of my favorite stories.
Este hombre que ves en la foto es Miguel.
The guy that you see here in the striped shirt, his name is Miguel.
Él era un brujo y líder de la comunidad.
Él era un brujo y líder de su... I'm sorry.
En inglés,
He was what we would call a witch doctor and a leader of his community.
toda la gente le seguía a él.
Everybody followed him.
Un día llegamos a predicar en el pueblo
One day we arrived to this village to share the gospel.
y cuando estaba predicando yo vi al hombre que estaba lejos de toda la gente.
And while I was preaching, he was like off in a corner. It seemed like he wasn't even paying attention.
Yo creía que no estaba escuchando la palabra.
I thought he's not even listening.
Cuando terminé el servicio,
When I finished the service,
el hombre se me acercó y me dijo, hermano, ¿puedo hablar contigo?
he approached me and he said, "Hey, can I tell you something? Can I ask you something?"
Y yo pensé, seguramente me va a pedir dinero, porque eso es lo que hacen cuando piden dinero.
And I thought to myself, "Oh boy, he's just going to ask for money because that's what they ordinarily do."
Pero lo que me dijo el hombre es, hermano, yo he escuchado el mensaje que estabas predicando y ese mensaje ha tocado mi corazón.
But what he told me was, I was listening to the message you were sharing and it really touched my heart.
Y yo quiero aceptar a Jesús en mi corazón.
And I want to receive Jesus into my heart.
Hicimos la oración y el hombre empezó a llorar.
So we said the prayer together. He started crying.
Después que ese hombre se convirtió a Jesús,
And after he converted to Christ,
no ha perdido ningún servicio
he hasn't missed a service.
y después que se convirtió, casi toda la comunidad ha venido a los pies de Jesús.
And because he was a leader in the community, when he got saved, everybody else came along with him.
Y eso es lo que el Señor está haciendo en el río Pisqui.
And this is what the Lord is doing on the Pisquis River.
Y todo esto, en primer lugar, lo debemos a nuestro Señor Jesucristo.
And all the fruitfulness of our ministry we owe first of all to Jesus Christ.
Y en segundo lugar, también debemos al seminario que dirige nuestro hermano Wayne y la hermana Phyllis.
And secondly, we owe it to the training we received in the seminary, in the Bible college that Wayne and Phyllis are running.
Hermanos, hasta hoy en día, Él sigue enseñándonos esa pareja que ha bendecido nuestras vidas.
And even to this day, they continue to mentor us, teach us.
Y les puedo decir con mucha certeza, yo que vivo en Perú,
And I can tell you confidently because I live in Peru.
la gran mayoría de los pastores que salieron del seminario son los mejores pastores que hay en Perú.
The pastors that graduated from this Bible college are the best ministers in all of Peru.
Gracias por el continuo apoyo que le dan a él.
So we're thankful for your continual support of our Bible college.
Y muchas gracias a ustedes por prestarme sus oídos.
And thank you for listening to me this evening.
Que Dios me los bendiga y Dios me los guarde.
May God bless you and keep you.
Amén.
Amen. Incidentally, that's a good cultural term for you guys to learn. A lot of times in the States we say, hey, God bless you. In Latin America they like to say, God bless you, Dios te bendiga, and God keep you, y Dios te guarde. So you might want to add that to your God bless you when you're greeting people. Hey, God bless you and God keep you. Amen. All right, so I want to switch gears here, and we're going to continue the series that we started, I believe 3 years ago, looking at missions marvels. I want to remind you that I'm a former atheist and one time diehard evolutionist. And so I've got a strong interest in what we call creation science. That's the study of the scientific evidence that backs up biblical creation. I'm a missionary, so I have a passion for missions. So anytime you can combine these two subjects, creation science and world missions, well, you're going to have my full attention. And that's what I'm going to try and do for the next 20 minutes. I'm going to try and weave together creation science and world missions. And we're just going to look at some marvels in creation. I think a few years ago we looked at metamorphosis and migratory routes. Last year I believe we looked at oddballs, and we looked at oddballs in creation, oddballs in the Bible, and oddballs on the mission field. We're going to follow the same format this year. We're going to look at symbiotic relationships, and we'll look at symbiotic relationships in creation, in the Bible, and on the mission field. Okay? I was first exposed to symbiotic relationships about 20 years ago when I was hiking with a brother-in-law of mine in what they called the virgin jungle of Peru. And we came upon two groups of monkeys that were hanging out with each other. The children were playing together, and I noticed that there were these squirrel monkeys that are small and have a face like a squirrel, and then they had the capuchin monkey, which is about the size of like a golden retriever, and they're, like I said, hanging out together. And I was like, what's going on? Because ordinarily different species don't do that. So I asked our guide. Our guide was an Ashenika Indian who knew the jungle like the back of his hand. And he told me, oh, this is a marvelous symbiotic relationship. And he explained the squirrel monkey has a keen sense of smell. They can locate the fruit that they eat almost 2 miles away. But they're so small and scrawny, they can't crack the shell to eat it. So on their own, they would starve to death. Now, the capuchin monkey has a very poor sense of smell. He cannot locate the fruit that they eat, so on his own, he would starve to death. But he's strong enough to crack the shell and get to the fruit inside. And so these monkeys form a symbiotic relationship, a beneficial partnership between each party. One of them finds the fruit, the other one cracks the shell, and then they all join in a fellowship meal. How cool is that? And evolution can't begin to explain how could these symbiotic relationships evolve in a step-by-step process. Because you would have to evolve instincts in two different species simultaneously, which is pretty much impossible, okay? A classic example of a symbiotic relationship is the one between honeydew ants and aphids. Aphids are tiny insects. Their mouth parts come equipped with a drilling apparatus that they poke into a stem, then they suck out the sap. Their body absorbs some of the nutrients, and the rest they excrete in what scientists call honeydew. Now, as the name implies, these ants go ape over honeydew. When they want some, they rub their antenna on the aphids, and that stimulates them to excrete some honeydew. They eat up what they want, and the rest they take back to the nest to feed the colony. In fact, the entire colony is fed exclusively on honeydew. Okay? But this is a symbiotic relationship. So the ants, what do they get out of it? Well, they get all their free food that they can eat. What do the aphids get out of it? Well, aphids have no natural defense mechanism, so they're vulnerable to predators like ladybugs. A ladybug can eat up to 60 aphids a day. Wow. But they don't eat any of the honeydew aphids. Why? Because like a cowboy protects his herd from wolves, these honeydew ants protect their aphids from ladybugs or other predators that would try to harm them. Okay? And at the same time, aphids don't survive the winter. So before they die in the fall, they lay their eggs. Where do they lay them? Right in front of the honeydew ants. The honeydew ants pick up their eggs, carry them to their nest, take care of them throughout the winter. I was hoping I'd get a wow. Wow. Okay? This is a symbiotic relationship. Now, there's an evolutionist named Richard Dawkins. He wrote a book called The Blind Watchmaker. I read it, and I remember in the book he said, and I quote, "Evolution has no foresight, no hindsight, no sight at all. It occurs by random, beneficial mutations." Why don't you say that with me? Random, beneficial mutations. Now, what Dawkins doesn't tell you in his book is that in the 165 years since Darwin, scientists have not been able to give us one example of a beneficial mutation. Mutations are always bad. They're always harmful. Some of them are neutral. The ones that aren't neutral are harmful. There are no mutations that are beneficial. So I have a hard time believing that random beneficial mutations could take a normal ant and transform it, evolve it into a cattle ranching ant that herds around these aphids and takes care of their young. And I have an even more hard time believing that simultaneously random, blind evolution could take normal aphids and turn them into cattle-like aphids that allow themselves to be herded around and that entrust their young to a foreign species. The whole idea boggles the mind. Now, before we move on, I want to bring up one more fascinating aspect of these honeydew ants. There's a specialized worker in the colony that biologists call honeypots. And in the spring, they crawl up to the top of the nest and they attach themselves permanently to the ceiling. And then they're fed throughout the spring and summer gluttonous amounts of honeydew until their abdomen swells up to the size of a grape. And then in the winter, when there's no aphids, they regurgitate the honeydew to feed the colony. And we've got to ask our evolutionary friends, how would this evolve in a step-by-step process? Who taught these specialized workers, these honeypots, to give up their freedom for the good of the colony and hang upside down for the rest of your life. There, that sounds like a great idea. I'll volunteer for that. How did the queen pass on the genetic information to perform these feats that she's never done? Now, your evolutionists will say it's an evolutionary marvel, but they'll never tell you how. How could this possibly evolve? Okay? My favorite example of a symbiotic relationship is the one between predator fish and cleaner fish. We know that predator fish, they eat mollusks, they eat shrimp, they eat other fish, and when they do, pieces of meat and debris get caught in between their teeth and around the gum, and they can't floss or brush like you or I do. So what do? Well, they go to the dentist of the sea, these cleaner fish that actually keep office hours in their designated spot in the ocean. And you can go on YouTube. In fact, I encourage you to do this. Go on YouTube and you can see a video of 5 to 10 different species of predator fish. And it's important to remember they're different species and they're waiting in line for their turn. And when their number is called, they swim up, they open their mouth, and this cleaner fish swims into this vicious predator's mouth and cleans out the debris in between the teeth and around the gum. Now, evolutionists tell us this is done by instincts that evolved over millions of years. I beg to differ, because I have to ask, how? How would this evolve over millions of years? Because first of all, you'd have to have all of these different species of cleaner fish would have to simultaneously evolve the instinct, don't eat the dentist. And the dentist would have to evolve the instinct to swim into a vicious predator's mouth to give him a teeth cleaning. And the obvious question would be, what would have happened if the cleaner fish evolved the instinct to swim into the predator's mouth before all of the vicious predators evolved the instinct to not chomp down on them? You would not have survival of the fittest. You'd have extinction of the stupidest. So I don't see how this symbiotic relationship where both of them are reaping a benefit. This guy gets a free cleaning, this guy gets a free lunch. How could this evolve in a step-by-step process? So that's symbiotic relationships in creation, and I believe they tell us very clearly there is a creator God. Amen? Okay, let's look at symbiotic relationships in the Bible. The Bible's full of symbiotic relationships, beneficial partnerships between different people. I think that Naomi and Ruth is a good example of a symbiotic relationship. Naomi was raised in a culture where your economic stability as a female was completely dependent upon your husband or your male children. She lost her husband and her male children to death, and so she was in a desperate situation. She was needing economic stability. She was needing care. She was needing companionship. Well, in comes Ruth, a pagan Moabite who had just recently converted to the God of Israel. She was desperately needing someone to mentor her in her newfound faith, to encourage her. And so they entered into this symbiotic relationship. And out of this relationship comes one of the most beautiful verses in all of the Bible, where Ruth, clinging to her mother-in-law, says, please don't encourage me to leave you. Where you go, I will go. Where you live, I will live. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. Kind of like what we say when we come to Jesus. When we say, Jesus, I'm all in on this. That's what I most like about Mickey's testimony. He had such a horrendous upbringing, and he says, when I came to Jesus, man, I was all in. Okay? I think the Barnabas and Paul had a symbiotic relationship. Barnabas had only recently been appointed the pastor of the booming new Gentile church in Antioch. He was needing somebody to help him understand the Gentile culture and disciple these Gentile converts from paganism. Now, Paul was from Tarsus, a Gentile hub. He understood completely the Gentile culture, and he was highly educated. In fact, experts tell us that he had the equivalent to 3 PhDs. And so he could easily help him disciple these new converts. So the scripture says that Barnabas went to Tarsus to look for Saul or Paul, and when he found him, he brought him to Antioch, and they entered into this symbiotic relationship. And out of this relationship, they became a powerful church planting team, and they planted churches all over the Roman world. Okay, another symbiotic relationship. Now, some Christians would consider our relationship to Jesus to be a symbiotic relationship. But remember what a symbiotic relationship is: a beneficial partnership between two species, each one reaping a benefit from the relationship. I don't see our relationship with Jesus as a symbiotic one. For the simple reason, look what each party brings to the table. We come with our pockets empty. All we have to offer is brokenness, emptiness, filthiness. Jesus brings everything to the table. In him we get salvation, we get redemption, we get forgiveness of sin, adoption, we get justified, we get joy, love, peace, mercy. We get a provider, a guide. Or if you're ever doubting, call Pastor Bohr, and when you know he's not going to answer, because he's going to tell you all the benefits on his answering machine of being a follower of Jesus. Okay, this verse here says, "Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, who's blessed us with every spiritual blessing in heavenly realms." So again, I don't see our relationship with Christ as symbiotic. It's completely, totally one-sided. We get all the benefits. He gets all the pain and suffering for us, okay? But as a church, I would like to encourage us to make that relationship more symbiotic. Because the Bible does say in the book of Hebrews, for the joy that was set before him, he endured the cross. So apparently Jesus gets joy out of seeing us get saved. He gets joy out of seeing us grow in him and begin producing fruit, becoming lighthouses in our neighborhoods. So let's try to be more committed to him, more consecrated to him, follow him a little more closely so that he can at least get the benefit of seeing us produce fruit in him. Let's make our relationship with him more of a symbiotic relationship and less of a one-sided, we get all the benefits relationship. Amen? Well, that's symbiotic relationships in the Bible. Now let's look at symbiotic relationships on the mission field. And I kind of struggled here, to be honest with you. I was like, man, where do I go with symbiotic relationships in the Bible? I thought about maybe talking about Mickey and Lauren, because they really complement each other on the mission field. She's a very gifted administrator. She's very smart. Mickey's a gifted evangelist and a hard worker. And together, man, they're really making an impact in the jungle. I thought about telling you about Phyllis and I. We've got a very good partnership that complements each other. She's a gifted administrator. I'm a pretty good fundraiser. We're both good teachers. She's a gifted counselor. I'm a good encourager. And our symbiotic relationship actually spills over into our marriage at home. She needs someone to take out the trash. I need someone to sweep and mop. We've got a deal in our house, whoever cooks doesn't have to wash dishes. So I cook, she washes the dishes. I need a dishwasher, she needs a cook. She needs a bed warmer, I need a bed maker. It's a perfect symbiotic relationship, and I thought about telling you about that, but I approached my wife, the brains of our operation. I said, sweetheart, where do you think I should go in talking about symbiotic relationships on the mission field? And she thought about it for just a couple of seconds, and she said, why don't you talk about the partnership between the sponsoring church and the missionary. And I was like, duh, why didn't I think of that? So that's where we're going to go here. We're going to look at this partnership between us. And I'd like you to understand that really is. It's a two-sided relationship. It's a symbiotic relationship. Phyllis and I, we receive benefits from this partnership. We get your prayers. She fell on her motorcycle last year and banged up her knee, and I'm so happy to hear your pastor say, man, we prayed and prayed and prayed for her. Man, thank you, okay? We get your prayers. We get your financial support. We get your friendship and encouragement, and you guys are great at this. I really do feel like we're family. I feel like, man, I'm visiting friends here. Okay, that's what we get from this relationship, but it's not a one-sided relationship. You're actually reaping benefits from this also. What do you get out of the relationship? Well, you receive an opportunity to hear about what God is doing around the world. Each year when we come and give you an update, and particularly this year when I bring and you get to see firsthand, wow, look at what our investment, and look at what we're doing in the Peasky River. And believe it or not, the Bible teaches that when you support missionaries and they go out and do this work, God sees it as if you yourself were doing it. In fact, Mickey and I believe that so strongly, we want to encourage you tomorrow. When you go to work, I want you to tell your coworkers, hey, guess what? I'm planting churches on the Peasky River in the Amazon jungle region. Well, how are you doing that? Well, we're supporting these missionaries that are doing it. And the Bible says God sees it as if we ourselves we're partners with them. So we give you the opportunity to be involved in ministry. We give you the opportunity to visit the mission field. Several of our sponsoring pastors come and help teach a class, and lots of churches bring teams down to see what's happening. And we would encourage you at Clareville, man, it would be great if you guys would put together a missions team and come and see us on the field and see firsthand what your investment into our ministry is doing. Okay, so again, this is not a one-sided relationship. It's a symbiotic relationship. And I say, let's continue with it. Amen? Amen. All right, so let's just close out with a word of prayer. Father, we thank you so much for these symbiotic relationships that we see all over creation. And we pray that you'd help us to learn more about them so that we would better be able to share the evidence of the Creator God with our loved ones and with our friends, we pray. In Jesus' name, help us to search out and find these symbiotic relationships in the Bible that are pretty much there to teach us that we're not meant to be lone rangers. We need each other. And we pray that you'd help us to continue our symbiotic relationship with our missionaries and to be a blessing, a mutual blessing one to another. And we thank you for all of this in Jesus' name. Amen. Now, let me do a commercial. If you guys don't mind a commercial break. I told you my wife fell and broke her leg. You remember that. And I can tell you she the doctor told her it would be a good 4 months before she was able to be able to start stepping on it. She got 9 pieces of metal put into her knee. And so she sat and watched TV, kind of depressed the first 3 days. And then she got to thinking, man, I don't want to sit around for the next 4 months watching TV. And she prayed, God, give me something constructive to do. She teaches the Old Testament prophets at our Bible school, and she's just very knowledgeable about the prophets. And one of her favorite prophets is Jonah. And one of the things she teaches our students is that Jonah, it's more than a story about a big fish. It's a story about the very first missionary that God sent to the Assyrians, the most hated enemy of Israel. It'd be the equivalent to God sending you to the Middle East to go witness to the Muslim terrorist. And so she wrote this book called More Than a Big Fish, and it's basically a study of the book of Jonah. And I think you would thoroughly enjoy it. I read it, and man, I was just so proud of my wife. Some of the things, and I've read the book of Jonah so many times, but there were a lot of things that I never noticed. I was like, wow. So I think you'll enjoy this book. And then I've got several other books here that are reprints. I've got this book on the creation-evolution debate. If you enjoyed the presentation today, this one deals with, it's called Unbridgeable, and it deals with 10 of the unbridgeable gaps in the supposed molecule-to-man theory. like the gap between nothing and matter. That's a pretty good gap. The gap between chaos and order. That's another pretty good gap. The gap between non-living and living. That's an unbridgeable gap. The gap between aquatic and terrestrial. The gap between terrestrial and flying. The gap between mammals and reptiles. The gap between humans and apes. I think you'll enjoy it. And I tried to write it in a way that a 12, 13-year-old kid could understand. So if you've got kids or grandkids, you want to get a copy of it. And then one of our favorite books is this one here called Unforgettable. And it deals with 26 of our favorite stories on the mission field. Stories about people getting saved, people getting called into ministry, and they're all true stories. Each of the story comes with a picture so you can see who you're reading about. And I think that it's an easy read. And I even think it would make a pretty good devotional. So if you want to get one of these books, and by getting a book, you're helping us with our ministry. So thank you for your attention. Really enjoyed being here with you. Please, let's try to get as many of these students sponsored as possible. And if you want to get a book, you can just kind of help yourself. They're $10 a piece, okay? Thank you so much, Pastor. Appreciate the opportunity.